Let me get straight to the point. One thing that you truly own is your karma, your work, your actions. Your anxiety and stress is not coming from hard work, it's coming from an outcome-addicted mindset. You don't fear effort, you fear losing. And that fear is quietly running your nervous system. Gita says you're entitled to work, not the fruit. Today we'll talk about Karma Yoga. In Western world we say it Karma Yoga. The right way to say it is Karma Yoga. Essentially, how to perform at your best without being owned by outcomes. There were times when I was working, but I wasn't really producing. Because deep down I was working for a reward. I'd do a little, then check results. If there was no reward, I'd just tighten up. I'd start overthinking and I'd delay, procrastinate. And here's the funniest part. I told myself it was perfectionism. It wasn't. It was fear of not getting the fruit. What fruit? My desired expectation. It could be getting some views or messages or money, performance, approval. And then Gita taught me something brutal. I wasn't attached to effort, my karma. I was attached to this identity through outcomes. And that is psychological poison. Karma yoga in modern language. The principle is simple. You have a right to action, not to the result of action. Look at the highest performing athletes today. They talk about falling in love with the process. I was recently watching this Olympic superstar, Alyssa Liu, and she is all over the internet, and good on her. She is just one of the best energies that I can describe I've seen in a long time on social media, because it's very rare to find a human like her, and she's got an amazing story. So we all can learn from Alyssa Liu that falling in love with the process is the key. You'll also find founders talk about long-term compounding. What is that? Process. Psychologists talk about delayed gratification, which means focusing on the process. Neuroscience talks about reducing reward volatility. Ancient philosophy talks about virtue over applause. It means control what is yours, action, release what is not, outcome. So the question isn't, will I win? The question is, did I execute my duty today? And it doesn't have to be massive. It could be little things that you do every day. That forms part of your karma. And that's what you control and own. Let me try to modernize this for you. In neuroscience, dopamine isn't just a pleasure chemical. It's strongly involved in motivation and learning, especially around reward predictions. When results beat expectations, feel a spike. When results miss expectation, feel a drop. If your identity is tied to results, you live in a vicious loop. Expectation leading to tension, leading to you constantly checking results that could lead to a spike or a crash, which causes anxiety, and then this vicious cycle repeats itself. Gita actually acknowledges that. You know how senses leads to expectations, which leads to desire, which might cause anger or frustration, and eventually for you to get unstable in your own life. Now, Karma Yoga is a mindset that signifies importance of an action is much greater than the outcome. Stoic philosophy said the exact same thing. Focus on what is within your control. You don't control the scoreboard, you control the swing. Karma Yoga is intentional intensity of action without psychological dependency on final outcome. Read that again. Karma Yoga is intentional intensity of action without psychological dependency on final outcome. And your job is to cultivate excellence in character, not to chase applause. You just want to be kind, not for recognition, but just because you're genuinely kind. Karma Yoga talks about alignment with your nature, which in Hindi is Swadharma. You're responsible for your alignment, not for how the universe reacts to it. Let me jump straight to the solution. Karma Yoga 3D model. So here's the model. 3 moves. Karma Yoga is duty, detachment, and dedication. Duty, do what must be done. Detachment, stay steady regardless of result. Dedication, offer the work beyond your own ego. First, let's talk about duty. Action isn't optional. Even maintaining your body requires work. The Gita just says it plainly. So the goal is not to feel ready. The goal is to act because it's your responsibility to act. So be responsible. And modern psychology backs this up as well. So when people use process goals, controllable actions, performance improves more than outcome goals. Research in sport found process goals had the largest effect on performance, while outcome goals were tiny in comparison. So that's modern language for do the work and don't worry about anything else. Second, detachment. This is where most people get it wrong. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. Detachment means you stop letting the outcome control your nervous system. You work hard, but you are steady in success and failure. That steadiness is literally defined as yoga. Refine the process and outcomes follow without you being owned by them. That's what Alyssa Liu did in this Olympics. James Clear, one of my favorite authors, by the way, shout out to him, says, goals set direction, but systems make progress. That's detachment in practice. You stop worshiping the scoreboard and you commit to the system, the process. Third, dedication. You offer the work to something bigger than your ego. You can call it God, the universe, Jesus Christ, Krishna, your mission, whatever language you respect. This is how you become like the lotus flower. So you can be growing in a muddy dirt situation, but you're not completely soaked by it. That's the difference between ambition that purifies and ambition that poisons. Even modern motivation science points in this direction. So Andrew Huberman talks about managing dopamine so you don't become dependent on constant wins to keep going. Dedication stabilizes you because your reason to act isn't a hit or reward. Your reason to act is because that's who you are. Swadharma. Now, let's make it practical. For 7 days, I want you to have a process scorecard. 5 minutes every morning, write 3 actions you will complete today. No outcomes, only actions. Like for example, 60 minutes of deep work, 30 minutes of training, 10 minutes of learning from a book. Second thing, 1 offering every day for a couple of minutes. Offer something real. Time, attention, money, support. And this would help you train your non-greed value. This would break your egoistic loop of me, I, and me. Number 3, I want you to do 1 detachment rep when triggered. So if you ever catch yourself checking results or focusing on the outcome, messages, likes, whatever, you do this, you close it. You close that thought straight away, or that notification or that app. And you take 5 slow, deep breaths and do 10 minutes of work. Any work that, is your actual karma. So do your karma for 10 minutes. That's it. Comment karma and I'll send you a process scorecard template plus a 7-day tracker. Next episode, we'll go deeper into the topic of transformation. How to become someone who is in control of their lives. Not in a theoretical manner, but in nervous system reality. See you there.